Hello, welcome to episode 218 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1,001 movies you must see before you die. I got something in my eye. And this is the first Chinese film. And China, I love China. China. Although it's technically Hong Kong, and I think there's some sort of distinction there. But the first Chinese film, we'll call it, of Asian cinema season, at least in the Epic Film Challenge. Anyway, Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love from 2000. I talked about Cheung Express about 4, 5, 6 months ago, which is the first Wong Kar-wai film I'd seen. It was also in the book, and I loved it. And was hoping for big things with this one, especially considering how a lot of people talk this up as like a masterpiece. It's frequently called one of the best films of the century so far. It's called one of the greatest Asian films ever made. And I definitely think that hype lessened my thoughts on the film a little bit. I was expecting something even better. But I think this is a film that is so different and so restrained and so subtle that I think it really depends on who's watching it. Obviously, every film depends on who's watching it, but I think this is one of those films where you really put yourself into it. There's just a lot of stuff you have to make up for yourself.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that...
What day is it?
Right, we'll get to that. So, the film is about these two characters, a man and a woman. They both move into the same building, right opposite each other. They become neighbours, and they're both married. And very slowly but surely you learn that both of their partners are cheating on them, and then it becomes apparent about half an hour into the film that it's, you know, both of their partners are together, basically. They both go off on a trip, and, you know, so his wife and her husband go off together, and, you know, wow. And so they try and work through that together in a really weird way, where they kind of start meeting up, and they start kind of almost going through the motions of, okay, so how did our partners get together? How did it start? What was the initial spark? And you see a scene where they kind of almost reenact or try to act out what their partners would have done together. And those scenes are really interesting and intriguing. Like, they go out for dinner, and he's like, well, order what, you know, your husband would have, and she eats what his wife would have had. You know, it's weird kind of trying to get inside the minds of their partners and why they cheated on them, basically. And that's the majority of the film, is this weird kind of relationship that forms between these two characters who have both been slighted by their partners, and they're trying to figure out why, and at the same time they're spending a lot of time together, and so you can imagine where that might possibly go. What did you think of the film?
Well, the deal was for me to watch 15 or 20 minutes, and if I didn't like it, I was to be let go. Yeah,
we do that sometimes, and I will say I've been trying to get Connie to watch it for a while, and she was not impressed at all. She was not impressed at all by the just...
I'm just saying, like, you asked me last week.
Connie was not impressed by the plot of the film as she read on the back of the Blu-ray. She was like, ugh, I'm not watching that. So I had to kind of force her into it, so there's that. And so why did you keep watching them after the first 15-20 minutes?
Cinematography and the acting.
Yeah.
It was basically the solidness of the whole movie.
Which is like the two strongest aspects of the film.
Yeah, like, I don't know, the acting was impressive and like natural from the very beginning. Though it's hard to really know when I don't speak Chinese, I guess, if the lines are delivered well, but it's just the acting was natural. It was almost as natural as the Before Sunrise movies, kind of. Yeah. Didn't seem forced at all.
No.
But yeah, the cinematography, or just like the way it's filmed, and the way the camera chooses to film their legs, and so many things out of focus, and sometimes you don't even film them directly, you film them through a mirror and stuff like that. I just like that way of, it's very creatively filmed.
Yes.
And then what really got me like, this is really well done, was a scene where it goes slow motion slightly, which I guess shows really well when the frame rate isn't that high. Because it got really choppy, but it was nice. And then there's just music, really nice music. And then they did it again, and again, and again, and again. And I'm not kidding, it must have been, I said at least 10 times, and then he says 6 or 7, and I go down to 8. But like, they did it so many times, it just annoyed me in the end, because they just overdid it. They overused it. Because it was the same music, the same slow motion, and the way it was filmed and stuff like that. They just did it too many times.
Right.
Twice would have been enough.
Right, yeah, so there's this classical piece of music that gets used again and again in the film. I liked it, and I didn't feel bothered by it, but I can definitely see why it would bother you. And I had an almost similar problem with Chungking Express with the overuse of California Dreaming, although that was very key to the character in that film.
It would have been fine if they didn't use the slow motion as well every time. They had some really nice music in the end. But they could have used something like that during those slow motion scenes.
Well, no, because I feel like it's this recurring theme. It's meant to keep bringing you back to this this feeling. I think that there's a purpose to it, and the music at the end is for a different feeling. So I think
that's the thing. It gave me a wow feeling in the beginning, and then it just got overdone.
Yeah. Also, I think you're confusing with the slow motion when they play that music. It was really nice slow motion, but you were also, I think you're mixing up with other slow motion that's used in the film where it's a bit choppy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a different. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, everyone, but I think that's the process known as step printing, which he used in Chungking Express. And I had the same, I was like, ooh, that doesn't look good. That looks like it's been slowed down after the fact and not filmed in slow motion.
Yes.
But actually, it's this effect where it's supposed to give the feeling of slow motion while it's not. And it's hard to even perceive, but I noticed it once when he touches her hand, and then...
Yep, that was really choppy then.
No, but if you notice, she's moving in full motion, but there's this slow effect to it. It's basically blending fast motion and slow motion at the same time to create this effect. I don't love it. I think it's used better in environmental shots and stuff like that. I think there's a shot in Chungking Express where it's rain coming down a sign. Yeah, I didn't love the step printing in this one. Anyway, that's just an aside. But the cinematography, also, and I, like you said, seeing characters through mirrors or through even curtains, and different, just like the shadows, and I loved all that stuff. And it's really, like you say, creatively filmed. I think that's a great way to put it.
That's the thing. That was so creative. It was so, there was so much variation.
Yeah.
Like, she's walking down a hallway and the camera goes backwards away from her instead of following her standing still. The way that they filmed it was so creatively done, and then I just didn't like the use of the overuse of the song.
Yeah, that's
it made me hate the song a little bit.
I can see
was
why.
Okay, I think.
I like the story, but here's an interesting thing. The pacing is so odd in the film because it's slow paced at times, and then it's really fast paced at other times. Like, you really have to keep up to the point where the only thing to really know whether time has passed sometimes before you start digging into the scene is
the color of her dress.
It's the color of her dress. The lead actress, she wears, I think they made like 46 dresses for the film.
There must have been, because she never wore the same thing, unless it was the same day.
So that kind of gives you the clue. But I like how it keeps you on your feet. I like how the film demands you to keep paying attention, trying to figure out where things are. It doesn't let you just, sit back and relax. You really got to pay attention to it, and I like that. But I read that he spent 15 months making this film, which seems unbelievable to me, especially given it's an hour and a half, a lot of it is, I don't know, I just feel like that's a crazy amount of time to make a film, and also he doesn't shoot with a script, so to me I think that kind of robs it of something, but it's also a film that's, it looks so good and the acting is so good, as you say, that I feel like it kind of gets away with where it might be loose in the storytelling. But I think this is a film that will reward on repeat viewings, and there's just lots of great details, lots of great little things in there, and as you say, the acting is really, there's a restraint to it that just feels like, there's a great scene. We never see their partners. We see them in scenes sometimes, but we never see their faces.
When their faces are in the shot, they're so blurred out you can't tell. Well,
that was only one time as well, so I mean, you barely see them, but their effect on the whole story is massive.
We never see any part of the husband, do we?
No, I don't think so, actually. Yeah, and so I like that a lot. That was a cool artistic choice to make. And where was I going with it? Actually, you never see the partners. I forgot what I was going to say completely. It's gone. Straight out of my head. Okay, I just got completely off track, had to stop the camera, and I still don't know what I was talking about, so there was a thought and it was gone. I also wanted to say that a lot of the film takes place, in the respective apartments of the two main characters, and it's such a claustrophobic space. Like they're just living in such this, like the hallways, they're just tiny.
No privacy.
No privacy. Both of their landlords are always like there and like in their face and saying, oh, you should be doing, oh, you shouldn't be eating that, oh, you should come join us for dinner, and they're up all night playing this game. Yeah, and so they have to kind of, because they're kind of. I like how there's an element that comes into the film where he wants to write this story, and he kind of gets her to help him, so they have an excuse to be hanging out as much, and so they're working on this thing together, and then they can't go outside. So I really like the way the claustrophobia of their environment, and also them trying to kind of keep it secret that they're hanging out so much, plays into just their emotions as well that are so closed in, you know. And you can tell they're starting to like each other, but they're pretty much for the entire film there's no real outward. I just like how the emotions were kind of cased inside themselves, and they didn't really get let free all that much. So, you know, in a more pedestrian,
I appreciate.
Yeah, in a more pedestrian film, it would explode out at the end, or it would, you know. I mean, there are emotions in the film, but I don't know. I just like the restraint. That's the word I keep coming back to, is restraint. Probably my favorite scene of the film is we cut to this room, and by this point in the film, we're very used to just jumping location and jumping days in a split second. And there's the I don't know any of their names. The main female character of the film, and
Mrs. Cheung.
And we see the back of a man's head who we assume is her husband, and she proceeds to ask him if he is cheating on her. And then we cut to the other side, and it's the main character, and we're like, what? And so she's acting out, you know, when she's going to ask her husband if he's seeing someone else. I just love the way that scene played, because you see them do this, as he calls it, rehearsal, for her asking her husband, "Are you cheating on me?" And he's like, "Come on, you've got to be harder than that on him, you know, let's do it again." And I'm thinking, well, don't show it again. We don't need to see her doing the same lines. And then she starts to ask again. And I really got into it. And I don't know why. I was like, what's he going to say? Like, what's she going to do? You know? And I got really sucked into it. And at first my mind was like, oh, don't do it again. We get the idea. They're rehearsing the thing. But then I was like, oh, well, what are they going to do differently? So I really like that. And the room that I don't know if it's a hotel room or just an apartment room that he rents out to give them more privacy when they're hanging out. A lot of red. The curtains are red. The hallway has these...
Makes you think that stuff's gonna go down.
Right, and there are, spoilers, no sex scenes in the film. And apparently they filmed some sex scenes. And then the director decided to scale back on that kind of stuff. And I really liked that, because one, it leaves it up to you, really, whether anything kind of happened between them in that sense during the main part of the film, or whether, you know, it didn't, because you can really just, again, put your own kind of spin on it. And some people won't like that, I guess. And overall, I think some people really won't get on with the pace of the film, which again it's a slow-paced film that is fast-paced at the same time. It's really odd. It's almost like the step printing that they use. It's like a mix of slow and fast at the same time. So there's a fun side character, one of his friends from work, and we were laughing because he'd have this kind of at the end of like almost every word he said, and we were just waiting for the It's just this funny accent, you know. I think,
yeah, he was kind of I guess he was the comic relief of the whole thing.
Yeah, and he's not in it very much, but he was quite fun to watch on screen. Yeah, I just loved the look of it. I liked how, you know, again, restrained. I'm just using the same word. So, is it a film you should see before you die?
No.
I knew that was coming. I think it is. I think it's a different kind of romance, and I really appreciated how different it was. I think I appreciate it more than I enjoy it, but I still really enjoyed it. It's not the masterpiece that a lot of people I know think of it as, but I can see why they would. I can see why this could be someone's favourite film. It's just not for me in that completeness, you know?
I think people who go to film school and stuff like that should watch it, because they
Yeah,
could learn a
absolutely.
lot when it comes to the camera and so on.
Yeah, it's...
Even photographers or just cinematographers.
Absolutely. And Christopher Doyle did the cinematography for this. It's an Australian cinematographer who worked with Wong Kar-wai on many films, but apparently he left at some point, and so another cinematographer came in, and they're both credited. Anyway, that's about the limit of my trivia on the movie. But again, I find it really weird that, you know, this guy doesn't shoot with the script and took over a year to make this film. Yeah, I think it's a film I'll enjoy more the more times I see it over the years. I think it is a film you should see before you die. I didn't love it, but I thought it was really good, and I appreciated how different it was and how it treated the story with an appropriate amount of, let me think of another word except for restraint. Subtlety. There we go. I'll call it subtlety. The strength is the acting and the cinematography, But again, I appreciated how it kept me on my toes in that sense, and so the more I see it, the more I'll probably get out of it, I think. So yeah, really enjoyed it. I think Chungking Express I enjoyed a little bit more. And yeah, I just really like this director's work. I'll be sure to watch more of his films. And yeah, so there we go. In the mood for love. Good stuff. Thanks for watching. You just probably shrunk down into the... Again,
it's almost 12:30.
It is almost half. And there we go. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Actually, just before I end the video, one more thing I wanted to mention. Well, two more things. I read that Sofia Coppola cited this film as a big inspiration for Lost in Translation, which I love, and I think should be in the book. And I can see why now that would inspire her to make that film. And there's similarities there, though they're very different films at the same time, artistically and, you know, obviously being an American film, although set in an Asian country. Anyway, also there is a feature-length, I think, making-of documentary on the Blu-ray, so I might watch that before this video gets posted. I might make a video on that. I think that this will be a film where, when I look into people talking about it, even the director himself and his ideas about it and that kind of stuff, there'll be a lot of kind of light bulb moments. That was the same with Chungking Express. I watched it, I thought, that was really good, I enjoyed that, but I don't see what the big fuss is about. And then I listened to the audio commentary by Tony Raines. I was like, oh yeah, that's really cool, the way that links there. So, you know, I'm not kind of clued up enough filmically to kind of get all these things, especially in the first viewing of a film like this that has so much going on, you know. So I do, again, like I said, I think this film will just grow over time. I hope so anyway. It might not be the case, but I'm intrigued to dive into that. So if I have done that, then you'll probably see a video around the same time that I post this one, like I did with the Rashomon. So, and if I didn't, I didn't. This is a pointless part of the video, but I'm just saying that a lot of times with these reviews, I feel like the film will change over time, and they are kind of first reactions from me. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.